Okay, so now we're on to the final part. What we're going to do in this section is we are going to add in the aircraft and then the waypoints to the planning tool, and then we're going to export the kneeboards, and I'll explain why that's important. Then we'll go and finalise the aircraft booking and briefing, and then you will be all good to go. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to go up to Objects, and you want to select a flight. In this case, we're going to use a F-16, so we're just going to select nothing. We're going to go to F-16. I believe it's the F-16 Block 52. I may be wrong. However, it doesn't matter too much because you're just getting the exported data. Okay, we're going to go to pick waypoints. We're going to put the first waypoint down on Kataisi. And we're going to make that take off from ramps. You can see that here. Okay, now, where's our next waypoint going to be? Well, our next waypoint's going to be over by the the military approach zone edge, so we need to pick a nice identifiable feature, and I like the look of this river here and where it meets. That's a good identifiable feature for flying about 10,000 feet or below. Okay, so that defines the edge of the military approach area. Next one, we're going to put one on the end of this military approach area to define the start of it. I think Gory's a really good location to have one, and then we just need to be mindful that we need to be doing everything a few minutes before we get to this airspace. Okay, finally we're going to go into Tbilisi Vaziani, and we're going to look for our initial point. So you can change the map type if you so like, down the bottom left, and that'll help us see what we're looking at here. Okay, I'm just going to right click to get rid of that object. So when we join initial, which is what we're going to do, and I need to look for the measuring tool here. That's just my mouse button. Okay, so when we join initial, we're probably going to aim to be about here over the shelters. So I'm just going to grab and drag parallel to the runway for 3 miles, okay? And we'll see that our initial point is roughly in line with this bridge. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that aircraft now. I'm going to go back up to Object and insert a waypoint. I'm going to zoom back into it was this bridge here, so just about there should do. Of course, if you want to be more accurate, you can go in the charts and you can actually find the visual reference point coordinates and input those in. That is the best way to do this. Okay, now we're going to put one more on Vaziani. We're going to make this one a landing. There we go. And I'll snap it to there. I'll actually put it on the end of the runway that you want, so when you're going into land, if you're in reduced weather or something like that, you can physically see where it is. Okay, now we can see on here, if we zoom in on one of these, we've got our time till the next time from the previous turn points: 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute. Nice big circle around the visual reference so we can see where it is. We've got the leg denoted here, so A would be startup, B is from startup to leg C, and you can see here it's 093 degrees magnetic, 30 nautical miles, 05 plus 37 is the time, and there's your altitude. Okay, so there's one last thing we need to do, and that's simply to check for our elevation along the route. So we need to be clear of cloud, and we need to have 1,000 feet between us and the ground. So essentially, we can't have any ground that's higher than 3,000 feet, and that's really pushing it, because that means we're going to be on the very bottom of the cloud. So realistically, you want to be looking for a route that's going to give you about 2,500. Okay, so what you can do now is you can switch back into the navigation chart and it'll tell you the sector minimum. So if you look in here, you can see it says 6,300 there, 8,200 there, but obviously where we are flying is much lower. So if you go over the waypoints themselves, you can see that the elevation is only 700 feet there, it's 2,000 feet there, and then over at Vaziani the elevation is only 1,500, so we're actually okay to fly this as long as we don't get too close to the hills on either side. So rather than flying as the crow flies, we may be flying along the river a bit more to try and use that valley to stay below the cloud. Okay, so that's the waypoints put in. Now we just need to get the kneeboards, so we're going to go back up to tools. We're going to go across to mission, we're going to hit Kneeboard. And then make sure that you put it into degrees, minutes, seconds. This is very, very important. Display all of your positions as coordinates. And you can always put your waypoint names on, and either your egress altitudes or your dead link. Okay, but all of that's not particularly important. You can print this out or you can generate the images, okay? And if you want to create a mission file based upon this, you could insert this flight into a mission file. Now I'll explain why you need to do this. When you get into game, the way the dynamic DCAF advanced mission environment works is that the mission is procedurally generated, it's dynamic each time, so your tasking might be different each time. So by learning this method, you learn how to go and create a flight briefing, and then when you load in the aircraft in game, you need to spend probably about 5 minutes setting up your waypoints. Now this can be somewhat laborious, but it's important because otherwise the mission maker would have to track down every single individual flight that was flying, find out what waypoints they wanted to use, and then input them in. So this is how we enable our pilots to have the freedom to plan their own flights rather than telling them how they're going to fly their flights. Okay, that's all there is to this so far. So you would save that as an image or print it out, and then you've got the coordinate waypoints that you then input the aircraft. All we need to do now is we need to go and finish off the booking. So we're going to go into administration, establishment again. We're going to go into 22 group this time because we're training, fixed wing, and the 312. And then we're going to go for the briefing. Okay, so the briefing does come up, and you can see you've got all your flight data there. You now need to go and ask your flight leader or your instructor to edit this again so that you can put in some more data, okay? So they will go into here, and they'll put in the data. So they will put in the preceding date, so the day that you wish to fly the route, and the time that you wish to depart. So let's say today is the 27th, so we'll say we'll do it tomorrow, so we do it on the 28th. Normally you can brief and do it the same day. So actually, we'll do it the same day. It is currently 1800 Zulu, so we'll say we'll depart in 15 minutes time. Gives us enough time to get sorted out, go and grab whatever drinks we want, snacks, that sort of thing for the flight, because obviously we live with luxuries that real pilots don't have. So we'll put in 1815. Remember, this is Zulu, so for example, I live in England, that would be 1915. Now we need to go back in the flight and we need to have a look at CombatFlite, and this is where it's really important in CombatFlite that we get the speeds right. So you always want to make sure that your speeds are right at every single point. So our speed here is 300 knots. We're going to change that to 250 because we can't do more than that inside the mats. Here we're going to leave that 300 knots because that will average out. Probably going to go up to 420 knots on this leg, and then here our average speed is probably going to be about 400 knots because we will be joining initial, and then obviously for the final one we're probably going to do about 250 knots. Okay, and it will tell you your total time So this is telling us 18 minutes. So that's 12:38:17 based upon mission start. And that assumes that we take off at 12. So that is a length of 38 minutes. We're going to be conservative and we're just going to add 10 minutes onto that. So if we come back into here, so we're going to say that's 50 minutes. So that's going to take us up to 19:05. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Very, very simple. You're now booked and ready to go.